Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, actually. I just wanted to come on live because I wanted to just update you on how I'm doing with my campaign. Yesterday, we went to Regis University here in Colorado, and we had a candidate forum. Although this year it wasn't the same as previous years, 4 years ago. We didn't get the amount of people we had 4 years ago. I'm not really sure why. It could have been because of any number of things. That's a good. Our investigative journalists should probably write about that. That's probably a good article to write about. Is why we had such a low return on a low show up rate at the forum. But anyways, it was very, very, very good. I enjoyed it very much. I've enjoyed campaigning so far. I keep saying and I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. But I gotta remove that word from my vocabulary. It's just not very good. So today I wanted to say I want to bring cheer all year to you. So this is what I'm gonna do for you. When you shop my website, Usborne Usborne Books and More, K4699.myubam.com, and you spend over $40, I am going to be doing a drawing soon, and a lucky winner will receive Marla's personalized all year round calendar that will bring joy to you and remind you that books are your ticket to the world. If it wasn't because of books, I don't think I would be as informed as I am today. It is books that inspire your mind, enlighten you, make you think, and bring joy to your life, aside from family. So I am here to say that if you go to K4699 and shop today for your kids' books, I will make sure that you get a personal Marla Benavidez's personalized calendar for 2021 by December. I promise you, I will send you a great calendar for you to remember important dates, important holidays, and I promise you that I will include any holiday you want me to include in that personalized calendar. That is my gift to you. If you want a personalized calendar from me, shop my website, K4699, today. K4699.myubam.com, and shop for your personal calendar today. I will send you a personalized copy of this calendar. If you shop $70 or more, you could bypass the entry into the drawing, and I will send you, each of one of you who spend $70 or more at my shop, I will send you a personalized calendar. However, if you shop $40 or more, it's $40, at least $40, I will put you into a drawing, and one of you will get a personalized calendar. So shop for your kids today, because we've got the world's best books. And now, I wanted to come to you live and say, why am I running for school board? Why is a homeschool mom running for school board? I mean, come on. If I don't care about the schools, why am I going to care about the other children, right? I don't really care because I'm doing my own thing. Well, I'm running because there are too many rotten tomatoes politicians in the world today. And we need to change that. And truly, we need to focus on one issue that we need to solve. And that issue is literacy. Because literacy is all you need to make every child graduate with an equal opportunity. Literacy is the equitable solution to solving the nation's literacy problem. And yes, America has a literacy problem. And if we don't solve it soon, this literacy problem will cause us to fall. Because literacy is what makes you smart enough to combat and to uphold your representatives when you elect them. Because after all, when you elect somebody, it is your voice that representative represents. It is your voice that they must listen to. They cannot go up there and just because of special interests, dark money. Okay, you hear it all the time with these. The Democrats are always saying, "Oh, it's dark money. Do not." I want to say, bring up important. So we have these ballot issues, and they're always constantly saying, "Vote no on this because it's dark money." Well, have you ever questioned what is dark money? Have you ever asked your representatives, what do you mean by dark money? Well, most of the initiatives on here are dark money. But you know where the biggest special interest group in the entire nation is? It's the NEA. The NEA is the dark money behind behind the Democrat Party. And second to that, it's the CFR. Okay? So dark money, when you hear that word dark money, question it and ask your representatives, what do you mean by dark money? Because the dark money in education is the NEA. They're the ones running the show. They're the ones pushing agendas like critical race theory and pushing agendas like equity. And they're the ones that are behind the federal stimulus, the rescue fund that DPS, Denver Public Schools, received in June. Denver Public Schools received $2.8 billion in rescue federal funds, stimulus funds, to reimagine education. So guess what they're going to reimagine education to? Critical race theory. And critical race theory is not true history. I am sorry, excuse me. I believe in teaching the good, the bad, and the ugly, so that we do not repeat it. But critical race theory just teaches you the ugly and doesn't allow you to learn how to connect the ugly to the good of American history. Because yes, our founding fathers had slaves, okay? Yes, everyone is prejudiced. You cannot get rid of your prejudice. But one thing is being prejudiced, and one thing is acting upon your prejudice. And when you act upon your prejudice and start segregating because you're a Latina and you have Latina pride, and then you're going to go to hang out with the Latinos because that is your group, that's fine. But you're segregating. That's not being inclusive. Okay? Inclusion. If you go to Miami, okay, I'm from Miami, Florida. I was raised in an inclusive society. Latinos and black people and Asians and white. We all included each other in each other's groups. That's inclusion. But segregating because you're white and you come from the white racist supremacy group, that's discrimination. Okay? And why are we going to penalize a white person for what happened 200 years ago? Okay? Now there's another thing, okay? In the Declaration of Independence, guess what? It says we're all created equal in the Creator's image. Now, if you're atheist, you tell me, if we're all created equal in the Creator's image, as the Declaration of Independence says, who created you? Have you ever stopped to ask yourself that? Who created you? Who? Did you just appear, poof, you came out? America, if you're American, we're all equal, regardless of race or sex. If you believe in the Constitution, then we can agree. Because the Constitution is the base for every law. If you want to convince me to vote for your bill, start with the Constitution. Because the Constitution, as Mark Levin says, empowers you. Okay, I watch too much intellectual TV. But it empowers you. Okay? And 2F, I had a young lady yesterday. She told me her story. And she said, this is my story. And this is why I think you should vote for 2F. Vote no on 2F. And I said, okay, let's see your story. So she said, well, I own this house. And last year we were all locked down. And I have like 4 bedrooms. And I could have easily rented an apartment. Okay, you can say you want. But I can't because I'm a single family home. I'm like, okay. And I said, and then she said, and because of that, you should vote yes. No on 2F. And I'm like, well, I differ. My house is zoned. I'm a land use planning. I studied land use planning. I went to DU Law School, and I took land use planning. Okay, and I just want to let you know, my house is zoned for multifamily. I can actually have a daycare or rent the bottom out because my house is zoned for that. And guess what? You could rezone your property to fit your need. But is it right for you to lift up all the zoning laws that we have that protect our neighborhoods from crime, from homelessness being anywhere, to fit your agenda? Just your agenda? No, it's not. And that's why you gotta vote yes on 2F. Because your agenda doesn't fit everybody's agenda. And this 2F is not dark money. It's not dark money. It wasn't funded by the NEA or the CFR. It wasn't funded by a politician or the mayor. It was petitioned by millions of Denverites in Denver. We worked our butt off to petition our neighbors and educate them on what the bill was and what the city was doing. So your vote, yes on 2F, means, and I'm not going to say, if you don't want to vote for it, that's fine. However, I'm not going to vote for it. And no amount, and unless you're giving me a valid basis for voting no, I am sorry. You have to start with the Constitution. Because 2F protects your property. And government's job is to protect your property rights. Everyone's property rights, not just yours. Okay, so that's one other thing. The other thing I want to say is, okay, so I'm reading this book, this magazine, Edweek, and federal government investing funds to ease pandemic caused crunch on feeding students. So they have articles on how the federal government is supporting homelessness in the schools. So what is school for? Is school for feeding the hungry children? Okay, when you go to a cafeteria and you work in the schools, I was a sub. Let me tell you, the cafeteria food is worse than jail food. It seriously is. There is nothing healthy or awesome about school cafeteria food. It's horrible. So then you read another article on school boards group seeks federal help to stem terrorism. What do you mean terrorism? Parent terrorism? Are they calling us parents terrorists? Let me tell you something about parents too. Parents hold a contract. When you register your kids with DPS or with any school, you have a contract. And in that contract, there's an implied rule. The implied rule is that you expect the schools to be teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? And if they don't teach your kids to read, write, and do math well, and they graduate incompetent, who do you sue? Can you really sue? You can't sue for educational malpractice because the courts don't let you. They don't view educational malpractice as something valid. So can you sue for fraud? You know, in a contract law, if you find fraud, that's the whole basis of the contract. So when you have a contract and the school breaches, it is your right to sue for that breach because they've breached your trust. And they're supposed to be teaching your kids to read, write, and do math. But when they teach other stuff, like critical race theory, and your kids turn out not being able to succeed in life and be happy, whose fault is that? Well, parents have an absolute right to raise their kids in the way they should go. So when you contract out a specific service, you're just contracting out one specific service. Or do you contract the schools to raise your kids? Is that their duty? To raise your kids? No, it's not. School's duty is to teach. It's academic. And your duty is moral. And schools are supposed to teach knowledge and moral virtue and support you in raising your kids. Support you. They're not supposed to raise them for you. So it is our duty as parents to make sure our kids are clothed, fed, housed, and learning something that would make them productive citizens in America. It is our job, not the schools. The schools help you in raising your kids. So, when I read articles like this, it makes me mad. When I read, this is Broward officials blasted by panel on school safety. The courts allow vaccine masks mandates to move forward in New York City, South Carolina, and Arizona. No respect and no support. K through 12 workers explain why schools struggle with staffing. Okay, now this one is kind of fun. Why are schools struggling with staffing? Well, for one, teachers are being bullied into adhering to standards that they might not agree with. That's one. Two, they're not really paying the teachers and the staff well. So most schools in the U.S. have a lot of money because of the NEA. But where does that money go? The administrative building? Back to the NEA? So when there is no money, they can't pay you anything. So I say we disconnect from the NEA. We decentralize from government. And we keep education at the county level. And all the standards should be made at the county level. But I suggest, like in Denver, that we allow the superintendent to disconnect from the board and be elected by you, the people. Because when you elect the superintendent, he has to now adhere to the voters who elect him. And he has to listen. And let's say he has an idea that might work, and he's listening to all the school principals, and he wants to do this idea. But if he's not elected by you, and he's hired by the board, his hands are sort of tied. They're tied. They're handcuffed. He can't do anything. And if he goes against the board, guess what? You get canned. And that's what happened to Cordova. Her hands were tied. They didn't let her. So she had all these ideas to help, but the board wouldn't let her. Is that right? No, it's not. And that's why I think the superintendent should be elected. Because now we have the superintendent elected, and he can enforce the policies that the board does, but he can make them better and help the schools make them better. And he doesn't have to enforce. And the beauty of being elected is that if it goes against the Constitution, he's another check on government. So that's why I think that we should. So COVID outbreak far higher at schools without mask mandates. But mandates are not law. We consent to law, not mandates. So who the hell cares? It's the parents' job, again, to raise the kids and to ensure their safety and to represent their kids. It's not the county. The county represents the parents. Let me see. CDC approval. Approves booster shots for teachers, reversing panel's decision. CDC director approves booster shots. And who the hell is the CDC? Did we elect them? Are they now in charge of making law and policy? Hello? Maybe we should elect the CDC. We could hold them accountable, right? There needs to be accountability and transparency put back into our schools. How vaccine loopholes could weaken COVID shots mandates for kids. What do you mean by vaccine loopholes? It is all right. If we want the vaccines, we take them. It is a personal freedom. It is your personal freedom. The government shouldn't be mandating your health. I mean, if you don't agree with vaccine mandates, if you don't agree with the vaccine and you don't trust it, then whose fault is that? They weren't telling you. They're not giving you the information that you need in order to make a good, sound decision on whether to take the vaccine or not. It's not your fault. The government should not force anyone to get vaccinated against their will. It is your choice. Your choice. I'm not against vaccines. I am vaccinated, but it's not my choice. It's your choice. You have every right to make your call and make your sound call on your family and your children. And it's not a good idea for the government to be jabbing your kids without your consent. Again, your kids are your kids, and they were given to you by God. So it is your choice, and you need to raise them in the way they should go. A vaccine for kids is coming. 6 tips for administering the shot in your school. Really? Hello? I thought Ed Week should be about literacy. Here's how we're helping Afghan refugee students. If you're an Afghan refugee and you become an American, you're American. You're no longer Afghani. Okay? You're American. Just like all of us. Americans, we are a race. And we're all equal under God's image. Students saw changes in their middle school. Their principals listened and acted. School leaders start a student social justice council. So I'm okay with having high school students help run their schools. I'm totally okay with that. I think that every school should be run by the principal. I believe that every school should have autonomy. I believe the standard should be set at the local school board, not the state or federal government, because they're far removed. But then every school should enforce it according to what they believe their students need or want, because the schools are closer to the students and the parents. The teachers are closer to the students, and the parents are by far the closest to the students, and they know their kids better than any school official could know their kids. And so you cannot get rid of parents from the picture. Parents are tied to their kids, and because of that, schools must transform education with their consent. So, you gotta get this edition. It's When Will Fauci Get Fired? To learn more, get the New American. And coming soon, please subscribe to my email, because I am going to form a little coalition, and I will be educating you on the Constitution and our rights, and a slew of other things. I'm a paralegal. I have a solid basis in law, and I believe that America needs to learn their true history, because we haven't been taught. We've been dumbed down by the NEA. We've been dumbed down. One more thing I wanted to say. So yesterday when I was there, I brought this book with me, and I said, literacy matters. And that's all that matters. And to solve the literacy problem, we need to bring back phonics. And to a certain extent, it's making a comeback. However, Look and Say is still in the curriculum. And when you add Look and Say and a little bit of phonics, you could still ruin the kids. Because Look and Say, what it does, if a child has not yet understood or been trained on how to listen for the sounds, the Look and Say method actually ruins the child's ability to read. It makes you dyslexic. It makes you learning disabled. Because phonics is a way to decode the English language. And you need to train each area well. And before moving on to the next area, you need to make sure that the first area, the listening, is fully trained. And the child needs to listen and understand that every sound makes a sound. And then every sound, when they combine, has another sound that goes with it. And if they haven't been trained and you introduce the I method and you start reading to them, they may be stunted. And that's where we get dyslexic and learning disabilities in children who can't read well. Dyslexic used to be only 1% in this country, a true dyslexic. Now, over 1 million kids have dyslexia. That's unacceptable to me. And who's behind the illiteracy problem? The NEA. So, a vote for me is a vote in direct direction to solve one big problem, the literacy problem. That's all I care about. I just want to solve the literacy problem. And you know what? Go buy my book. It's at Amazon right now. It's How to Teach Your Students in 3 Simple Steps. Buy it. It's just $9.99. In the back of the book, there are references on what I use to teach my child to read well. And let me tell you, every child is different. So this book will just give you teaching tips on how to do it. But it's up to you to teach your child or your student how to read based on their individual need. Every child is different. Every child is motivated differently. And therefore, you cannot teach everyone the same way or stop at one level and not continue the phonics for the other kids who haven't quite yet picked up the ability to read well and understand phonics. We need to bring back phonics, spelling, grammar, good math skills into our schools. That's all that's needed in order to solve the literacy problem. Every teacher must be teaching each student and understand the students. One other thing that I plan to do is every classroom should be limited to 10 students per class. And the teacher should follow her students all the way up to 6th grade. So from K through 6th grade, you should have the same teacher every year, because that way you're ensuring that the teacher gets to know the students and can help the students learn to read effectively. So that if you put your child in school, your teacher should be the same teacher for your child all the way up to 6th grade. After 6th grade, then you can start teaching your children the tools of logic. And every school should be teaching logic. And analytical school. In high school, your child should be learning how to reason what he reads, not before. We should stop focusing on crapola, like sex ed, because that's your job as parents to teach your children about sex. That's not the teacher's problem. That's not the school's problem. It's you, the parents, who need to raise your kids morally upright. It is not the school's problem. The school should be supporting you, the parents, in character ethics. And you could teach certain character ethics at school that don't touch on God or whatever. But our nation is a nation under God. Understand that. Because that our foundation, our constitutional foundation, comes from the Bible. And we need to bring back morality, because we are raising a nation of immoral idiots and ignoramuses that cannot defend their own rights. Signing off. Go to Amazon, buy my book. Start teaching your child to read at an early age. Start with reading a book. Read the same book over and over again. As a matter of fact, I had the book and it fell over by Too Many Tomatoes from Eric Odie. Too many tomatoes for everybody. There is never enough tomatoes for the whole world. We need better tomatoes in legislation. Tomatoes that can think well and protect our rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Because that's what makes America different than the rest of the world. We are not a centralized government. We have states that share sovereignty, and then the individual is a sovereign individual in America. If you're American, you're sovereign. In America, your state is sovereign. And the United States is a foreign government that is far away. And their duty is to make sure the states are upholding the Constitution. And right now, they're not doing that. They're trying to centralize us, to take away and weaken us with a democracy. Democracy? We're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. And we consent to law, not men. God created man. Man created the Constitution. That's a contract between the states. Government created corporations. The Constitution created the government. Our rights were here before government was created. And our founding fathers fought for their life to make us free. So let's get back to learning the true foundation of America. And let's eliminate critical race theory, because that's not going to do us any good as Americans. I'm an American. And if you're American and you believe in the Constitution or the Bible or both, then we can start there. Because the Constitution, as Mark Levin says, empowers you. Signing off. Don't forget, go to my store, K4699, and shop for great books today from Usborne Books and More. And I will send you a personalized copy by Christmas. Thank you very much. Signing off. And don't forget to vote for me if you're in Denver. I'm the very first one on the ballot.